Brilliance Audio presents the unabridged recording of Leaving Blythe River, a novel, by Catherine Ryan Hyde, performed by Ropp. Late in the worst night of Ethan's life. Chapter 1. Tremble. 3 months before his father disappeared. Ethan remembers the shaking most clearly, probably because it was the first moment of the shaking, that most familiar of things making an initial appearance. When he thinks back on that night, it's that bone-deep trembling, the out-of-control shivering, the chattering teeth, that still feels vivid. He tried to stop it, to calm it, but he was powerless, in more ways than one. Ethan tries not to look back on that night, at least, as much as human nature allows. But it's a funny thing about your darkest moments. They have a life of their own. They come around because they've got you pinned. Because they can. The harder you try to push them back into the shadows, the stronger they grow. They draw power from your resistance. If it had been cold in that police station, the trembling wouldn't have been so humiliating. But an ancient furnace bellowed heat right onto Ethan's side. He hunched over himself on that hard wooden bench and felt sweat break out on his forehead, run down his back. It was overheated in that place. But still, Ethan trembled. He looked up to see a uniformed officer looming over his bench. He jumped, startled, enough that he knew the officer could see, would know. The cop was obviously no threat to him, which made his reaction humiliating. But when you're already swimming in a sea of humiliation deep enough to drown you, it doesn't matter much if somebody throws in another bucketful. It's not worth it to stop and pay attention to that when you need to keep paddling. Ethan Underwood? Ethan tried to answer. A simple yes would have sufficed. But his voice failed him. It seemed he no longer owned one. A strange feeling to reach for something so basic and find it missing. He nodded. You want to come with me, please? Ethan followed him into a tiny cubicle with one tiny window. The officer sat behind the desk. Behind his head, the blackness of the city night threatened. Even though it was out there and Ethan wasn't here, still it threatened. Ethan perched on the edge of a chair in front of the desk.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?